Well, look at here. 4 600s on an Intrepid. Pretty sweet. Well, hello and welcome. We're actually sitting on a 32 World Cat here. I don't know how old this boat is, maybe 7 years old, something like that. It's getting its 500-hour service. We got a reseal on the steering here, and the last thing to do here is, what I'm going to do, is replace one of the pumps, which is actually not bad, but I'll show you why we're doing it. But first, let's go to the future here, because it seems like battery is my middle name, and I've been dealing with, seems like, batteries over and over. Dead battery, problems with battery. I think we have another one, so we're going to venture to Loggerhead first before we come back, and we'll check this out, and I'll show you some common problems here with the Optimus system that I notice. I'm not an expert on them, but I've got a lot of comments about the Optimus and how to fix them, so I'll show you what I know, and well, let's head to Loggerhead first, so I'll see you over there. Thank you. Alright, we're here, but we're actually at the Loggerhead condos behind the place. Usually we go to the marina, but this time we're going to all the wet slips here. Some of them got lifts. I think this one has a lift too. It's a Sea Ray 310. I think I see it right there. It's all black. Alright, let me get the boat down. It's covered up too, so I gotta uncover it, get the boat down, and he's got a battery problem, which is, like I said, been my middle name here for the past 3 weeks, so probably a battery. I'm not sure, but we'll check the charging system, we'll look at all the batteries, and we'll go from there. So I'll meet you on the boat. Okay, let's take a look. I just turned our batteries off here. We had plenty of power to open the hatch, so that's a good sign here. He says the starboard one won't start the engine, or it has a hard time cranking, so that's the one we're going to go after. But let's turn off our shore power here, or at least our inverter and our battery charger here. We'll turn all this off for now, so we can just see what voltage we have. We'll trim the motors up and down here. I don't have keys, and I don't actually need them right this second. The reason we're doing this is so we can get the boat over to our shop for service, and obviously if he doesn't have a good battery to start the engine or get your 5-volt reference here, then it's definitely going to give you a problem. So we're going to change out the battery we need to. Let's trim our motors and see what they sound like. Alright, here is our port side. This one should sound good. Sounds good. Let's try this side. The chargers are on, so hopefully it sounds a little bit weaker. That doesn't sound bad at all. Let's do a load check on them. Okay, let's squeeze down in the hole here. Got my battery tester. Let's look at the port side first, since he says the starboard side is the side that is giving him a problem, that we got a reference of a battery that should be good anyway. Well, let's see what we have here. We have house batteries. Looks like there's a date on those for 23, so those have been changed. These are inverter batteries. They're hooked together. And we have the same batteries here on both sides, it looks like. So that's our start batteries. If we look at these, we have a date of 10/20, so it's original to the boat. So I'm going to recommend replacing all these, but let's get this one is the one we think is bad here. So let's test them. Like I say, we'll check this one first. Alright, so far so good. 12.7 is a good sign. 801. So this one's still doing its job. Let's move on to the one that's bad. Okay, 12.4. That's a bad sign already, because you should have at least 12.7, 12.8 fully charged, and it's been uncharged. So it's even asking if it's charged. It's bad. 135, yeah. So I'd say that thing's not going to want to crank those motors for sure. So this one needs to be changed. Well, good news is I have a 31 battery there in Felix back there, and I'm going to recommend replacing the 3 other batteries here, being they're all the same age, and you never know when they could fail. Obviously this one failed on them being about 4 years old now. They call me the battery whisperer. Maybe I'll change my channel name to that or something here, because this is probably the 14th battery I've done in the last 2 weeks. Seriously too. It's just been battery after battery. Anyway, I'm going to swap this out here and cover it back up, and well, let's go back to me this morning. So I'll see you over there. Can't forget my fan, the most important thing here. Anyway, so we are back on the 32 here. I'm not sure what happened at Loggerhead, but I guess you guys already know. We have Fisher Panda in the hole. There's one of our pumps here. I'll show you that in a second, but let's look at the boat real quick. Just I like WorldCat. They're simple, and the cool thing about these are, look how deep everything is because it's a catamaran. And you can stand up and you can jump in here if you wanted to. Makes the spaces really big on the sides. Pretty nice, good condition. Guy just got his 500-hour service done. The the steering seals have been redone on both rams here. And like I said, it has Optimus, which is joystick. And I get a ton of questions about that stuff from some of my older videos. So we got our joystick here. It's a Yamaha. Simple setup. You got our gauge here. Because of joystick, you have to have that gauge there. I know that much. And here is our control box, which can be a problem. This can be a problem for sure all by itself. But our biggest thing here is always make sure, if you look at the bottom, you have a yellow and red, which is our power and ground for each side. So each motor is tied into its own steering pump. And here's our sensor from the back, from the back of the ram. And these can be a problem. So the best thing to do is if you have a red light flashing down here on one and a green on the other, swap these out. And if it follows, the red light goes over here, then you have a bad sensor. If it doesn't follow and you still have a red light here, then you want to make sure you have good power here. Make sure all of our connections are good. And if you have good power here and you still have a red light and the sensor is good, then this thing's bad. You also have to look at our purple wire here. That purple wire, wherever it's daisy chained into the harness somewhere, that's your key on power. So you have to have power to that for this thing to even turn on and activate. Other than that, I'm not sure internally what these things do. You can't really plug into them or do any of that kind of stuff, but I know make sure you have good clean power to each side of the board here. Make sure everything's plugged in good, you got no corrosion, and you can swap these sensors like I say. And you have these lights. If they're green flashing, that means system is good. But if you have a red light and you got an alarm going off, then check your sensors first. Even if you wiggle them, the wiggle test, I know if you wiggle them and these sensor heads are bad right here, they'll start to alarm. So you can always do that just to test and see, because I've seen this part right here, it seems like what wears out. I don't know if it's vibration or something, but just the head of it here where it plugs in seems to cause a problem over time. So definitely swap your sensors first. Make sure you got power everywhere. Make sure you got power to your key switch, and you should be able to diagnose what's going on, because it's either this or one of the sensors. There's really nothing else in the system. So we also have obviously our pumps here, which if they're not running, they could be shorted out, but you can swap them to the leads. They're actually right here. And this is what I'm changing out, because you see this one, it's in a good high and dry spot here, and obviously there's a leak or something going on here because look at the corrosion. So the customer wants to replace this before it fails, and that's a good idea, because if that thing fails, you got no steering, you got alarms, that's no fun. But here's our tail right here, so it's that simple, just plugs right in. And the good thing about these two is they're self-bleeding. Once the system's activated and you want to bleed them, you just make sure we're full and it'll bleed all by itself. So let me swap this pump out here and we'll come back and see if everything works. Alright, we are swapped out. Here's the old one. Let's zoom in here. Look at that. She's almost all the way through. Trying to make a mess of the boat anymore, but once water got in that, that'd be no good. But we are ready. Our new one is hiding underneath here. We got fluid in her. We just got to turn it on and bleed the system. This one's going to end up bleeding out too, because we've resealed both steering rams. So let's take a look at that. See, here we got brand new seals on each side. And there's that Optimus steering sensor right there. It's literally just 4 screws that hold it in place. So if you ever have to take this off, all you gotta do is unscrew it from these 2 brackets. And the steering ram could be used as a regular steering ram. The only thing that makes it Optimus is hooking to the power steering, the motors themselves, which we just replaced one, and having this sensor on here, which is just magnetic. All it does is read a magnet inside there and where it's at on the stick. That's how it knows where it's you know, port or starboard, where it's at. Pretty simple. So let's fire it up. Power to everything. Should be able to key on and hear everything going. Let's see if we can get, we'll zoom in here. Oh, VHF radio. Oh, they're cranking. Oh, right away. We got alarms because they're low on fluid. We're gonna reset it. Try that again. Oh, there we go. Starting to bleed some. You can hear those things sound like robots in there. No alarms this time. See, it's pretty fast to bleed it out. We got no alarms. Everything looks fine here. Hit OK. Yeah, our degrees, so it's trying to stay straight for sure. Let's. I'm gonna steer it a bunch more times here and make sure it's doing its job. All right, we steered it a bunch. Should be bled out. I'm gonna just check the fluid level. I'll do it a few more times, but I'm gonna make sure we don't see anything heavy leaking over here. I think we're good. I see no drips of new fluid. And we don't have much fluid. We didn't lose too much doing those seals. Let me fill these up here, and well, this thing should be done. We're ready to go home. Well, all right, this one turned out good. No problems, steering good. Obviously, they'll drop it in the water and check the Optimus system here with the joystick and all that stuff. Oh, look, twin Bertrams back there. Sweet boats. Anyway, I'm going to pack it up here so that I can go to Loggerhead, which you guys already seen. So, got any questions? As always, hit me down below. And of course, there's another Bertram in the way there making noise. Anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and say it with me. Later. Well, here's some more of those Sharo props, but this one looks like it's attracting a lot of rust here. Need to be cleaned off real good. Cool design though.